Honorable David Kiplagat, who is the SOI Member of Parliament. On my right, in the middle, is Ruth Ambogo. She is a lawyer, and as well Joshua Okayo, President, Kenya School of Law, that is a KSL. And even before, beginning our discussion on the topic that is a budget cuts impact of supplementary budget 1 of financial year 2024-2025, just to highlight what is on our dailies as far as the Gen Z demos are concerned. As you can see, the Star newspaper says Raila Kalonzo MPs failed to agree on Ruto deal. Day-long deliberations failed to yield way forward on how to respond on Ruto's overtures. And on the Standard newspaper highlights a missing opposition. That is, the opposition leaders seem to have been caught off guard in the renewed clamor for change. And now to Honorable David Kiplagat. Why does President William Ruto believe if he has, the Azimio team on board, then all the problems are solved?
Okay, as I said, if you read the statement from the president when he was dissolving government, he said that he is going to do broad-based dialogue, so that at the end of the day, he forms an all-inclusive government. Even the opposition parties are formed to form government. So I don't know why you guys want to force ODM to be in opposition. Any party is formed to form government. And whenever there is an opportunity by any party to enter into government, so be it.
Perhaps you can confirm these speculations that the former Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho is on the list. Sooner East Member of Parliament Junet Mohammed, the Minority Leader Opio Andai, and as well the former Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya. And the issue especially in Azimio right now is that Kalonzo Musyoka was offered the interior slot and he rejected. And that's perhaps what we are witnessing today.
I think
and it throws now again the president in a limbo.
What you are now alleging are fake news. There are so many fake news around.
He's asking you to confirm.
No, that's what I'm saying. What he's saying is fake news. I've confirmed.
He's asking to oh, it's fake news.
Yeah,
okay.
Fake news. So that's the confirmation.
So we should not expect any
what I'm saying,
ODM member to be in the cabinet list.
No. You are not. You are putting words into my mouth.
But
can I mean,
expectations?
Can I say what I know? The president is engaging. He is engaging businessmen. He is engaging everyone. At the end of the day, what will be formed is an all-inclusive government that represents everyone, including Gen Zs.
Ruth Ambogo, so will it be proper to have some of ODM members? Because now, clearly, in Azimio, the others are rejecting it. Yeah. They're rejecting having the dialogue with President Ruto. ODM seems to be adamant that this is the opportunity to get into government. Will it be proper to have, some ODM members, especially the ones that have already listed, it's out there, that they could have already secured their slots?
First I would like to address the fact that Mheshimiwa here said earlier that, the intention is to form a government of national unity. I mean, why would you tell us that you have already arrived at the conclusion of dialogue before dialogue itself begins, that the intended dialogue itself begins? And I find the political parties that are jumping to go into dialogue with the president being very, betraying the people that follow this particular or subscribe to the ideologies of these particular political parties. Because at the end of the day, remember, you're loyal to your ideals as a political party. You're loyal to the direction that the political party leader provides. So imagine being in a political party where for the longest time ever since these conversations about the finance bill, about the cost of living began, you knew that your party believes and pushes the ideals that, this is not good for the Mwananchi. And then when the conversations about dialogue began, you also were in the political party thinking that, my political party leader is a man of integrity or a woman of integrity, and he or she shall continue to hold their foot steady and say that as a party, this is the position that we believe in, and we are going to push until the end. Only for you to go to a NEC meeting to be told that, your opinion does not count. What you believe in does not count. And that brings me back to what is the intention of political parties. At that particular point is where I disagree with Mheshimiwa when he says political parties' goal is to form government. the idea behind political parties is never really to form government. The idea behind political parties is to push a particular ideology, to push a particular agenda that is supposed to be for the benefit of the mwananchi. That is the ideal situation that political parties, if we had proper functioning political parties, we should have been seeing political parties that take particular stances that can never be changed. Well, for instance, look at democracies, more advanced democracies such as, for example, the UK, where you know it is either you are a member of the Labour Party, and when it comes to particular policies, the Labour Party stands for ABCD. You are never caught off guard. So I wonder why political parties in Kenya are turned into briefcases, are turned into negotiating tools to negotiate for personal benefit, as opposed to the agenda of the people who subscribe to those political parties. And it is at this point, before you cut me off because you gave them enough time to talk, it is at this particular point that I would want to say, I'm very proud that I'm a member of a political party, that the party leader has been consistent from the beginning, that he believed from the beginning when Azimio was going to the streets and demonstrating about the cost of living back last year, and they went to a dialogue, the NADCO, which produced the NADCO report. My party leader, Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, the party leader of DAP, came out strongly and said, you know what, we as a party don't support the NADCO report because the critical issues on the cost of living and the concerns of the mwananchi had not been captured. And he continued with the same spirit. When the Gen Z revolution began, he said, you know what, I am with the Gen Zs. When Azimio was called to come to stand and say, what are we standing for as Azimio when it comes to this dialogue, he maintained his position and he said, we are not boarding. So I pity the people who are in parties like ODM. I pity the people who are in parties that party leaders don't have a stand, that party leaders have turned their political parties into briefcases for negotiating and bringing themselves to the table for their own benefit as opposed to what their followers actually believe in.
Joshua, if at all it turns out to be so that some ODM members will be part of the next cabinet, what will be the next course of action for the Gen Zs?
I think I need to start by saying that, thank you. Mr. Kiplagat is saying that why are we forcing, ODM not to join the conversation? Look, we don't need them. Yeah, we don't need ODM in the conversation. We don't need political parties to be part of Gen Zs. We don't. Actually, to the contrary, they will take advantage of the young people who mean well for everyone else, but for them, they'll be looking at this as a political move and gaining seats, as now we are about to see for themselves. So should part of the Azimio members be appointed to the cabinet secretary positions? Congratulations for them, those who will be chosen. But for us as Gen Zs, as the movement, as the people of Kenya, because this movement represents the general citizenry of Kenya, the fight continues. We shall soldier on, and we are not going to relent at any point. We are going to, because look, we started the movement without the support of Azimio. We started the movement without the support of the opposition. And if anyone thinks that the opposition or anyone in opposition has a hand in this, those who have made positive statements that are in line with Gen Z's movement are just in support of what we are doing. It doesn't mean really that they were there as we started. It doesn't mean that they have played a role. They are just making statements in support. So if they are given positions, well and good. I'm happy for them and their families. But they are making a very big mistake. This is not a time for Kenyans to start looking for themselves. This is not a time for these leaders to start, making decisions just for their own benefit. But I think they should look at the bigger picture. Even those that probably, if they are selected, those who will be selected, they should sit down with their wives and husbands, those who have, and their children, and ask them, really, is this the right decision to make, to accept the appointments? And I tell you, 99% of them who will go back home and ask their families about the decision to make, they will be told that, please, reject. They'd rather get back to businesses and other things they've been doing than being appointed, than being part of the William Ruto government. It is a poison. I'd advise them freely. Please, should you be appointed to a cabinet secretary position, reject, deny. This is a chance for you to write.
Do you also propose some Gen Zs to be in the next cabinet?
Of course.
And who?
Look,
Because now it's leaderless. Who then do you
Here's the thing.
pick?
Here's the thing. And, you know, deriving from the conversation we had before, we didn't have to get here. So that means there is no listening government, really. But should it get to a point where we as a young people will agree that, look, I think it is important that the president has changed, all right? And he has changed the character that he has, the character that he is, to the extent that we have reason to believe that he is now a changed man, a different man, and whatnot. Then we will be able to accept appointments as Gen Zs. And should we get to that point where he's a changed man, and a cabinet is being formed, a new cabinet is being formed, then we would love young people to be represented in that cabinet.
Well,
and at some point I said at 26, I would love to see a 26, 25-year-old who is qualified to be in that. It doesn't, you know, it is not written anywhere in the constitution that for someone to be appointed in a cabinet position, then they must be politicians or they must have served in a public office.
In 30 seconds, even as we shift our focus now to the topic of the day.
No, maybe just in a minute. There is I had a rejoinder on what lawyer Mboko was raising. If you ever form a political party, and I wish you could form one, and tell your supporters and people who want to contest in your party that my party is not about forming government, I doubt whether you will have even a single person. Because everybody, when you are going for an election, you are not going for an election to lose, neither are you going for an election so that you can be in opposition. It is only the outcome that takes you there. So all the parties, including DAP, given a favorable environment, I can assure you.
Well,
so may I finish? I can assure you, Honorable Malwa will be singing another tune. So it is only that the environment that is in currently is not being considered. So that is why he's making a lot of noise. But given, I know Amalwa very well, if given an environment to also join, he will be gladly number one to join. Having said that, I think as a father, I am a young father also. I need to advise my I'll not say my children, my young people. You know, at the end of the day, if you are going on the streets, also don't be everything less, including what you want. You know, you came to the street with a rallying call of reject finance bill. And during public participation, we were able to sort a few issues that we felt actually like the motor vehicle tax, the issues of bread and things like that. Then other issues were raised and we said, okay, so that the young people have come, let us dialogue, let us bend the issues of the finance bill. After that, of course, you also raised the issues of the cabinet in terms of opulence, in terms of what, and the president listens, and he was able to dissolve cabinet so that we can engage. Now, and all the other issues you have raised that actually right now, even us as politicians, we have changed our way of doing. Even our MPs now are no longer fashionable and things like that. Shows a lot of opulence. So but at the end of the day, you need to tell us what is your goal. So because there are issues, if the issue of saying that president must go, you know, this rallying call, my advice is, we have a country to run, gentlemen. Let us use constitutional means to execute that. There is no way today you will wake up and go and chase the president, and then after that, what will you do?
Well, we shift
focus. May I finish on that? Joshua,
for the interest of time.
No, we need to advise these gentlemen. It's good to, that's a fatherly advice.
Stop advising
so,
us, but respond
what
to
I'm
issues.
saying is, they need to tell us clearly, these are our issues, and stop being partyless, gentleless, tribeless, anything less, including what you want is less. Yeah, you change from here to here to here. Tell us this is our These are our issues.
Well,
come to the table, let us engage. We try to say, no, we have tried as much as possible to engage, but they are just saying less. So you are lessing until when? Can you tell us A, B, C, D? And we shall be able to engage as a government.
Well, we now shift focus
today,
to
tomorrow you are there,
day,
today
and that is
but I can tell you, no, I can tell you, there is no way you guys, you can use unconstitutional means to bring change.
Well, we shift focus now.
Will not succeed. So the better it enters into your mind.
We actually don't know what the movement is about.
We now move on to the budget cuts impact. And as you can see on your screens, we now focus on supplementary budget one of the financial year 2024-2025. And there is a reduction there, a proposed reduction by 156.39 billion Kenya shillings. And recurrent is actually 34 billion reduction or slash development budget by a whooping 122.35 billion Kenya shillings. Ruth, just to begin with you. Yes. You know, President William Ruto, first of all, promised a 177 billion cut, whereas we are seeing a 156 billion. However, the main issue here, especially with the Gen Z demos, with the youthful population or unemployment being a ticking time bomb in this country, slashing development budget by 122 billion, which will be meant to really, have the economy be more vibrant. What do you make of the numbers?
I always say this. I always give a pre-warning, as you would say. I'm not an economist, but I like to address economic issues in a very simple language. When you tell Kenyans that, you have slashed a particular amount of money from the budget that was meant for development, and so you're asking Kenyans what will become of the development plans that the government has for the people. The ordinary Mwananchi will ask you that in the past financial year, there was a development plan that was in place. There was money that was set aside for development, but did we see development, The question that will be asked by ordinary Mwananchi is that in the previous year, wasn't there a budget for development? Yes. How much of it had been allocated to development? This much. What projects had been highlighted as projects that were meant to be achieved within that particular financial year? Project A, B, C, D. The ordinary Mwananchi will ask you that were those projects achieved? And in the eyes of the ordinary Mwananchi today, and I'm not being overly critical of government, the ordinary Mwananchi will tell you they see absolutely zero development projects in this in the Kenya Kwanza administration. And therefore, when the president comes and says, I have slashed this number of billions from the development budget, the ordinary Mwananchi says, you know what, at the end of the day, whether there is money for development or not, I'm not seeing any development. The real questions that Kenyans have, and I ask this alleged listening president, I want to ask myself, and it's a question that Kenyans are asking, that every other time when we are told that, there are adjustments that are being made to the budgets, the budget that we are supposed to spend as a country, the thing that always trends the most, or the thing that is always highlighted the most, is how the deputy president's residence needs to be renovated, and we need 90 million shillings for curtains, or 10 million shillings for curtains. We are told about how the first lady needs, I don't know, this amount of money for cars. We are told about how the president needs to increase his entourage of cars. These are the things that Kenyans look at and say that, you know what, at the end of the day, if indeed before we had these issues, there was no development going on, if you come and tell us that now we are suspending development, then really there is no difference to me as a Mwananchi. It is a government that failed to provide development when there was a budget for development, and therefore if it is taken away, the Mwananchi doesn't see any difference. Well,
Joshua, economic pundits argue that should the country find itself where Kenya is, especially whether there is a revenue shortfall, and as a result, of course, in this case, it's the withdrawal of the finance bill in totality that will finance the budget by 346 billion. Then where you target, it's reducing on the recurrent expenditure. Surprisingly, it's only 34 billion, whereas the development budget had not even crossed the 800 billion mark. It has been targeted by 122 billion Kenya shillings. This will have a ripple effect on the economy. And in this case, jobs, especially for development projects that will be there. As a young Kenyan, how do you feel the decisions are being made economically?
Here's the thing, first, as Ruth has said, there's no development. We have not seen these development projects. We have budgets every year, but we don't really get to see what this money gets to do. So that means really there is no employment to the young people that would say, you know, these projects have brought employment to these young people. So that is out of the
Perhaps they will argue they're using the affordable housing.
What do you mean?
Where are the houses?
Where are the houses?
Being built.
Good. They're being built. For how long? Because there's a timeline that we were given. We haven't seen that really respected. Now, Mheshimiwa, let me just get to my point. This is my time. Really, if this government knows very well that there is no development being done year in, year out, all right, then that means even if we stop these quote-unquote development projects, which we are not seeing, there will be no effect in employment of the young people. What should we do? Why don't you just stop, stop pumping money into development and just use that money to, look, if we have a development budget for financial year 2024-2025, say 800 billion, and our current debt is at 10, is it?
Over 10 trillion.
Over 10 trillion, 10 point something trillion. If you can take this development money, which doesn't get to work, I think it goes into people's pockets every year, and get to pay the debt, how long is it going to take us to pay this 10 trillion? That is, let's say 800 billion, all right? 800 billion, and then we have 10 trillion. It's about 12 years or thereabout. We shall be, we shall be done with all these things. But then here is a government that makes decision. I don't know really what the people like David Ndii do, but the budget that is allocated for their salaries, those advisors, is a lot. It's a whooping amount, but then we don't get to see the resultant effect. Now, what is happening is a government that is just making decisions as to, they've been automated. That every year we must have amount for this, we must have amount for this, we must have amount for this. So let's make an allocation, and whatever it takes, let that money go, but it does, whether or not it gets to do something, let us have that money get out. Look, we should be very frugal in how we spend as a nation. And I think this is something that the president needs to reflect on. What I've said, get to see what we can spend, get to see really if there is development and there is none, take that money for development, get to pay our debts. It will take us very short time to move to that direction. We have money.
Well, at that juncture, we'll take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll also be narrowing down to the sectoral allocations. And for instance, the education budget, including TSC, has been trimmed by 36 billion Kenya shillings. TSC now says the 10 billion that is earmarked for slash, or to be slashed, will affect the hiring of 46,000 JSS intern teachers on permanent and pensionable terms. We'll be right back with that conversation. Stay tuned.